Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Chalice Dungeons side series, I suppose. This will cover the Alien Lore and Chalice bosses, the Hintertomb and the Lower Hintertomb bosses. They're in the order that they are, not so much because the Hintertomb ones are more difficult, because they most certainly are not, but just because this is the order I did them in. I went Lauren, and then I went back to do the Hintertomb ones. Although, unfortunately, a lot of the bosses are more or less just repeats of the ones that have already come through, except that they've got more health, they do more damage, usual stick when it comes to the Chalice dungeons. With this guy I managed to at least show off more the effectiveness of backing off and just parrying everything he does. I mean, if I recall, I still die. It's just, it makes whittling down a health a lot easier, and really just emphasizes how a single fuck-up can just ruin everything. Or in my case, probably just a couple of fuck-ups. Oh, there we go. Just get slapped about by his incessant flailing. Fucking amazing. So yeah, of the bosses that are going to be in this video, I'm trying to think now. There's one at the very end of the Lore and Chalices, which is the Abhorrent Beast. Then for the Hintertomb ones, there's the NPC Hunters, and then there's the Pthumerian Elder, I think it is. Descendant was the Sickle Man, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it's the same strategy with this guy as before. Except that you don't really have a great window for fucking up. Also, you may be wondering, how the hell does a beast know how to cast fireballs like a Dark Souls 1 Pyromancer? I have no idea. I have no fucking idea. They just do. Roll with it. Nice. The Kane's whip form is still surprisingly good when you get the right gems in it. It's been a delight reusing that weapon. A very underrated weapon in my opinion. So the second one is just the Blood-Starved Beast, and it's dealt with in exactly the same way you deal with Blood-Starved Beast normally. Once you get used to Blood-Starved Beast moves, it's just a matter of shooting him before he hits you, and then just doing visceral attacks over and over again, and not fucking up, because if you do fuck up, you're basically dead. Either that or you can just dodge and attack. That's another thing you can do. But this goes on for a while, and unfortunately, this is probably one of the biggest indicators out of all of the bosses fought in this video of how you can completely dominate through like the majority of the fight, but if you fuck up once, the last hurdle, you lose all your progress. That's never a good feeling whenever that happens, and it's happened twice. So that's nice. Thankfully, the way I formatted these means I spare you all of the fucking time it takes to actually do that again. Because I know it's boring enough already doing these. I still want to do them just because there are some unique bosses to show off, and I feel it's a little truer to the whole all bosses run thing to do it. But at the same time, the Chalice dungeons are just not particularly interesting. There's a reason most people do not do them in like their playthroughs. Wow, wasn't that a lot of fun? Would have been a shame if you had to see all 3 attempts fall through. But yeah, that grab is basically just a 100 to 0 no matter what. Really kinda sucks. And then there's this boss. This boss, I would almost consider them a good boss fight if it weren't for the fact that, well, so many of their moves look like they should be punishable in terms of like having an opening for a counterattack, but they just don't, because the thing attacks so quickly and has so little recovery time that you don't really get that opportunity. This is what I was talking about when I mentioned this fight in the Bloodletting Beast. Like, with the Bloodletting Beast, they're just as aggressive and horrible, but at least with them, you have more safe openings for attacks and can even create those openings through locational damage. Can't really do that with this boss. So, you're almost always going to get hit if you try to attack, no matter what. So, what you end up having to do is just figure out which move has the most recovery time, this one, and allows you to get away with a free hit, basically. And with this boss fight, there's kind of only really one or two moves that actually allow that. Every single other move, if you try to counterattack, will end up with you getting hit for a lot more damage. So that's kind of why, like, in theory, I like the idea of this boss. It's a fast, nimble, big beast thing that can catch up with whatever you're doing and will respond to whatever you're doing very well. Can even deal with you trying to side strafe. But the thing is that that's fine, but you need to you need to give the players some leeway in terms of, like, okay, this boss has attacked and missed. It's been nimbly dodged by the player. Now the player, having done so successfully, is rewarded with some damage that they can get off while also being able to dodge any recurring attack. Doesn't really happen with this boss. And that's why I'm really not a big fan of this boss. Because in the end of it, all it ends up being is that you just don't do anything for the longest time until you see the attacks you can actually punish. And that's pretty much what I end up doing. On this attempt and another attempt, spoiler alert, this one is not successful, I just hang back, wait for that move, and go in for a melee attack. Or alternatively, use ranged attacks. Because the Abhorrent Beast doesn't really have a huge lot of moves that can really respond to that. Or indeed any Souls boss. I think could. So this is basically just backpedal fight. Enjoy. Oh, and incidentally, actually, I forgot to mention. If you remember the blind man in the forest who I sent to Sefka's clinic, if you attack him, he's revealed to be a beast, and this is what he is. So basically you're fighting what the beggar would end up being if you aggroed him. And he has some interesting dialogue, actually. If you, I didn't show it in my LP, but you should just go and check it out. It's quite a nice touch. Oh, and another thing, I know this is getting kind of annoying, but if you are actually struggling with this boss super big time, and you just want a quick and easy way of dealing with them, this thing has no poison resistance. One poison knife, hit him with that, and then just backpedal forever and ever and ever, and just keep reapplying it. GG easy. I didn't want to do that, but you can do that. It's quite effective. And it's finally over. The good news is, however, that's the last of the Lauren Chalices that I actually plan to do, because there's nothing unique in the lower Lauren. So, the next ones in this part will not take nearly as long. So, for like a whole minute, enjoy this amazing mano-a-mano close call fight with an enormous pig. Or as I like to call it, the quest for the piggy butthole. That's right, they made a boss out of the pigs. That's how desperate it gets in some instances. Oh yeah, and I forgot there's this variant of the Undead Giant. He's pretty new. He does get destroyed, however. Wow, imagine if I'd appreciate that at the intended level. Imagine how long that would have taken. So yeah, it's this fight again, and thankfully I spared you the music because I turned it off at one point. The area around here is full of poison, so you don't want to step in that for obvious reasons. But otherwise it's the same fight. Thankfully, however, this one does not take 5 million years. And this is a cautionary tale of why you should not leave enemies alive. Close one, GG. Now, this fight is interesting because it's an NPC hunter fight, basically. Not a particularly nuanced or different one. You fight these guys in exactly the same way you fight basically any NPC hunter. Since they're all so incredibly fucking aggressive. You can either outrange them and spam on them, or when they get close you can just shoot them in the face, because with a shotgun, even if you mess up the timing, it doesn't really matter, you still stagger them. So that's very handy. And of course it takes no stamina either. Now, something else happened when I did this. If you're not aware, in Souls games and in Bloodborne as well, if you save and quit in the middle of a boss fight, or even right at the end, as what happened with me, you basically reset the encounter. Now, I did this because I thought I beat them, but did not record it, and I didn't want to go through the whole Chalice again. Turns out I did, and I had to do the whole thing again. And it taught me this experience, if you die, to these guys, they give you some BM. Because they're just so fucking awesome. Just GG easying all over the place. Until they die, of course. And then you can return the favour. Other than that, pretty standard. You do get a unique armor set. You get the Madman set, which is it's fancy and snake-like, I guess. It's not too shabby. And finally, the other Pthumerian, who, I will admit, has some pretty neat mechanics about him. I like that he has a staff that can basically turn into almost anything he wants, like a crossbow, a halberd, a hook, whatever he needs, he'll just conjure it up. So it means that this is an enemy that has a wide variety of ways of responding to. And with the lance, he can close a lot of distance. He's not exactly a super crazy spammy fight. He's not the Pthumerian Descendant. But at the same time, he can still give you a lot of trouble if you fuck things up. Which, spoiler alert, I fucked things up the first time around. But still, actually one of the few genuinely neat Chalice dungeon bosses. It's a shame that he's only really used here, I think, and then in the root chalices, and then he just doesn't show up. It's just Pthumerian Descendant, because, you know, that's such a fucking good fight, isn't it? I suppose the one thing I would say about this guy is that, like almost any Soulsborne boss, his hitboxes can, and indeed will, take the piss. And that is that. See you next time for what is basically the worst Chalice dungeon in the game. And then the final.